There are a lot of NFT games out there to get into, in case Axie isn't your thing or you can't afford it. One of those games would be Splinterlands. It may not be as popular or as strong as Axie in terms of the market, but it is a play-to-earn game that's making some waves. What? The good thing is that you can play this game for free on your browser and even on your mobile devices and phones. When we say free, you can pretty much open an account and start playing and earning some money. However, like any of these NFT games, if you want to earn big, you need to invest a small amount of money. Don't worry, because here are the Game Mag's 5 tips for beginners like you if you want to get started with Splinterlands. Number 1. Understand the mechanics of the game. Splinterlands requires a little bit more understanding rather than just winging it. It is a collectible card game, so this means that you need to get cards. The game will give you cards to get you started, but those cards can only go so far. This is especially so with the fact that you'll be facing other players later on who may or will have better cards than you.
This is business!
This game also doesn't have a practice mode or a mode where you can compete against the computer AI. You need to do your part when it comes to studying and doing the research about what cards are good and everything involved in the gameplay. One thing to keep in mind is that the game really isn't that generous that will give you some resources from the start. They did this so that players can't just make new accounts with an abundance of rewards. Number 2. Do unranked matches or play with friends. While the game doesn't have a practice mode, you can play unranked. Playing unranked means that you can play the game without any repercussions. You won't lose anything, even if you lose, which can serve as a good practice mode for you. This is where you can put your knowledge to the test when you did enough research and studying when it comes to the gameplay mechanics. Most of the players in Unranked are probably also practicing as well, and the good thing is that you can also pick up some strategies from these other players.
Nice.
They may also be practicing some builds, and if you have the right cards to deal with them, you too can implement their strategies. Playing with friends can also be a good idea, to those who have friends, sorry to those who don't. But if you do, both of you can plan and practice your own strategies. There are no rewards if we hadn't made that clear enough, but your reward is mostly information and knowledge. You can find out if your strategies are worth the time and effort. Play unranked or against friends as much as you can, so that you improve your skills and test your tactics before you head out and play for money in the ranked matches and tournaments. Number 3. Join groups and rent cards. Getting cards in the game can be done when you buy them by piece or packs. However, the game also allows you to rent some cards. You may need to pay for the cards because that's one of the methods of making money in the game. Renting cards can be a good idea because it is cheaper and you don't need to spend real money to rent them. You'll be using in-game currency, which is a good thing when you have an abundance of it. Renting cards allow you to test out any cards that you plan on buying. You never know if the card is good or not, so before buying it, you may find someone that is renting out their cards for a fee. That's where you can join groups and find people that are willing to rent out their cards to other players. Try to find out if you can join some groups that communicate where they can rent out cards. Find groups in sites like Reddit and Discord, and you might find people that will help you out. In the long run, if things work out for you, you too can rent out some of the cards that you have. You can earn money, and at the same time, you're helping out the community. Just remember that if you rent out cards, you may not be able to use them when you want to. This is ideal when you have an excess of cards that are duplicates and you don't want to upgrade them yet or sell them in the process. Number 4. Buying cards. Renting is one thing, but if you finally get the chance and the resources to buy cards, then you would think if you want to buy a specific card or packs. The good thing about opening card packs is that you can open one and get multiple cards. The price also varies, but depending on the pack, you can buy a cheap one but with average rarities. If you're a bit lucky, then you may get a good card from one of those packs. You can always sell or rent the cards that you don't want to use at the moment. There's no point in hoarding them when they can help make you some money in the process. When you want to buy a specific card, then that's possible. The only downside is that these specific cards may cost more. That's because you're getting the exact card you want. You're not dealing with luck when you actually get the card that you want right away. It cuts off any randomness to it. The next time you want to buy cards, you need to think about saving resources to buy the specific card, or if you're feeling lucky when it comes to buying card packs that may give you the cards that you want, or just a couple of cards that aren't very useful. Number 5. Upgrading the right cards. Upgrading cards is a typical dilemma in any of these card games. In Splinterlands, upgrading cards require multiple resources. The first thing is that you need to have the same card or duplicate which will act as an ingredient. The next thing would be currency, which is the dark energy crystals that you can get in the game. Just to give you an idea, the higher the card will be upgraded, the more it will cost. It would cost 1 duplicate to level up in the earlier levels, and it would cost up to 100 duplicates later on. That's why you need to plan ahead which cards you want to upgrade. Upgrading your cards will make them stronger and have more abilities later on. However, unless you're pumping real money and a lot of it in the game, your resources will be limited. Thinking of which cards to upgrade is crucial, but that would still depend on the resources that you have. If you don't have the duplicates, then you can't start upgrading either way. It is ideal to upgrade summoner cards when you have the chance. It is also a good idea that you have to pump some money into this part of the game. You can actually buy duplicates for cheap in the game. You can at least focus on upgrading your cards up to a good level and not necessarily max it out. You don't need to rush making your cards level 10. Just focus on a couple of cards that you want so you can make a well-rounded deck of cards later on. This is also where the previous tips come in, such as knowing the results of the upgrades, practicing with friends, and buying the cards. Now that you have an idea how Splinterlands works, you can use our tips to get ahead of the pack. Just remember that in order to make a lot of money, you need to invest a little of your own. For more content, tips, and guides, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the Game Mag.